Fiora competitively. We'll see whether he can find it here in this game against a formidable opponent in Key.
I was going to try to point out a Fiora victory, but that was the Yasuo victory. Remember that Yasuo game where I spoke some French on broadcast?
You did do that.
Don't Google that one.
Holy guacamole.
Holy guacamole. That wasn't, I was saying a naughtier word than that one, Alice. That particular game. So Freak of Freaks say, well, we just team fighting, which is the opposite of, well, we just sieging, which was their game #1 identity. So they're changing things up. Over the side of Hanwha Life, they've got some nice pickups here. I know I'm very excited to see LCK Trundle embrace a real answer to Sejuani, so a Week 2 strategy being rolled out here. But their comp is definitely more difficult to execute. Can they make it about So1's matchup? Because the Aurelia kind of went begging in the 1v1 in game #1.
And also, Freak of Freaks have a hell of a lot of physical damage. There is not a lot of magic damage on this squad, so see whether they can make that up as well as we get into game #2. Okay, Hanwha doing their very best to pilot the Fiora to a victory for So1, and the Afrika Freaks just wanting to be over and done with this game after about 20 minutes. This is a composition that gets online at about level 6 and will be able to find fights if they can find Hanwha Life in the right position.
And we've seen the best of, the Gragas Yasuo combo. It's very similar to what Afrika is running in previous games this season. We've also seen Hanwha Life try to use a Yasuo comp that could only team fight, and it was sad, Atlas, in game #2 of their first series of the season. So we've seen the best and worst out of these Yasuo comps. It's been a surprising amount of Yasuo out of nowhere in the summer season. So we'll see if Afrika can force fights, because I feel like Hanwha Life have reliable win conditions, but they're a bit more non-standard, and they're a bit more specific with setup required, and they didn't show the ability to pilot them in game #1. So Hanwha Life, again, they've got options, but because they couldn't use them in game #1, we're waiting to see them uncoil in front of our eyes.
Well, I mean, Afrika Freaks just uncoiled in front of Key's eyes. That light binding did go wide. Tongue Lash is the one that landed. So Afrika with a huge advantage on the bottom side of the map, as you can see. Dread over here gets himself a leash on this Raptor camp. We'll be able to take that one down relatively comfortably.
Do I get a Trundle minute?
Oh my god, what? Papa Smithy, there's a Halo Blade Sejuani in this game.
It's true. There is. It's Dread. So
am I losing my mind, or is this a bit strange?
So my Trundle minute's going to be delayed. So I'm going to talk about Hail of Blade Sejuani. You're sitting there saying we've never seen this before, and you're right. But what did we see in hard matchup for Sejuani, Atlas? We did. Back in the day,
the fleet footwork.
No steal happening there. Mugen flashes as well. Lava forced out of mid lane. A lot of things happen at the same
Yukao
time.
going hyper aggressive, and this is a matchup that has worked out very well for the Sylas. We in fact saw Faker in this exact position, I believe. Was it against Yukao or somebody else? I'm not entirely sure, but this was something that the Sylas was able to pilot very effectively.
So that
was Akali.
A lot of things worth discussing are there. Very quickly, Yasuo has a good laning matchup into Sylas because the ult steal gets him almost nothing. So in terms of melee champions trading, you get through that shield with a Q, and then you keep fighting. Hail of Blades Sejuani is along the lines of Fleet Footwork Sejuani when it comes to some of those battle options. So was taking that very often on Sejuani when he wanted to path aggressively. Also, Aftershock has a losing matchup into Trundle in a big way.
Right? Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why Sejuani jumped up. It wasn't just, wow, really good with melee carries. It was the fact that Aftershock was better for tanking and way worse for damage, and interacts with the Sejuani passive in a positive way because she gets so many free resists. However, you Trundle ult while the Aftershock is running, and as people know, you go into negative resist to Sejuani when your passive is no longer lingering because you lose so many stats. So the Hail of Blade is actually a tech choice to answer in the 1v1 jungle matchup. So pretty cool to see.
And that was pretty cool to see as well. That was about as good mechanically you could have played that. Meanwhile, on the bottom side of the map, though, Mugen looking for Senin, but doesn't get the pillar in the right position. They will get the heal and flash out, but that should have been a kill.
Trundle ganks can be oh so big, and against Tahm Kench, who always wants to be within melee range for the Devour, actually very difficult to position, and Tahm Kench often at the mercy of the Trundle pillar. I want to talk a little bit about Trundle because the pick that I picked up the moment the jungle changes came in, because you saw many more level 3 fights around things like Scuttles and level 2 fights, and Trundle's level 2 is pretty decent for ganking, but his level 3 is lethal for a 1v1 with this W actually available alongside the pillar. You've got the chomp, you've got the press the attack. You're a very good duelist in a 1v1 skirmish as the Trundle come level 3. And obviously, stealing away resists from Sejuani isn't as bad as if Aftershocks are not as pronounced, but still really good.
Yeah, her passive means that it will always get value, right? Taking the Halo Blades doesn't negate that.
You always want to ult Sejuani as Trundle.
Yes.
It's not quite as advantageous as the Aftershock interaction, but it's cool to see Mujin roll in a jungle that Korea has a very complicated relationship with. The first ever Korean jungle Trundle was Cloud Templar hard randoming it in a knockout best of 5, and it always had kind of an ironic reputation since then. But the pick is just legit good against Sejuani. It's more reliable than the Kayn that we know Ning prefers to use.
Yeah. Here in the mid lane, you can see Lava actually finding his way back into this matchup, but Yukal is pretty comfortable by the looks of things. 9 CS in the lead with a wave crashing into his turret, and he's going to be very, very comfortable. The soldier build is what he's opted in for as well. He's got a sword, he's got a shield, he's well and truly ready to go on an adventure. Papa Smithy?
Both teams roaming around everywhere. Cool draft, lots to take away there. It's been fun considering it. You already outlined the shortcoming of Afrika is their very physical damage only identity. It's a lot of physical damage. And while Lava and Mujin will be a bit tanky, speaking of...
Yep, aiming has to flash. That's a free one. When you get the pillar in the right spot, it's almost guaranteed death or flash. And aiming certainly realizing that one. An aggressive teleport, I believe, was what led him to that position. Last cone utilized against him.
In the 1v1, Keen has a 20 CS lead over Fiora. I think from level 3 onwards, after the latest changes, I would take Fiora. Fiora was even winning against old Aatrox after her latest round of buffs.
Yep, last time we saw it as well, it was pretty Fiora favored.
This was a poor minion wave spot for So On that he hasn't been able to reset. Obviously, one of the few things Fiora can't do in the matchup is try to shove it in if the lane's in a bad spot. And the flow-on effect here is that So On going to be a bit slower to get going in what will be a Fiora-favored matchup later.
Yep, and also doesn't manage to go back and get the Tiamat as well. You can see that he definitely wanted that one, but the Reju beat double longsword comes in instead. He certainly wants that first item, but he won't be getting too much value out of those purchases until the recipe is completed. Mujin down towards the bottom side once again, and Lava's going to join him with that teleport, as you can see. We're going to need that Devour to be on point from Sen. And remember, no flashes on the bottom side. It's a decent spell shield, but now that one's on cooldown as, oh, that's a very dead Tahm Kench. Aiming's going to follow as well. Look at the tanking of the turret working out beautifully. Sungyun going to survive. That's going to be turret plates aplenty for Hanwha Life.
Aftershock proc onto Key. He throws out the shield onto the team. Yes, Sungyun taking aggro wasn't ideal at the end, but otherwise, just a piece of poetry in motion from Hanwha Life. After a game 1 where they never got all their bearings together, that one was great to watch.
Yeah, now Lava actually goes back to buy some items, because Papa Smithy, look at the disaster in the mid lane that's ensuing. If he didn't get both of those kills, I would have almost called that a lost situation.
Yasuo Sejuani, not quite the mid lane Camille, but along those lines with the Sejuani synergy, and we talked about the trades for Yasuo are winning ones. You're right, he needs 2 kills to just catch up.
I don't even know whether he has. Like, that's 2 turret plates as well as a 30 CS advantage. Yukal's probably still in the lead.
And they might actually just both be growing bounties if we keep seeing kills for Silas and farm bounties on the other side. So beautifully done from Keen.
The double life binding, just amazing.
Gets the Aftershock proc, hits the shield, perfect dive. You know, Sungyun taking aggro is not perfect, but otherwise, you know, there's nobody bot side, so it's not like he's going to die. Really nicely done in that scenario. And yeah, we get the goal confirmation. We
exactly even. Thankfully, I've still got it. Still got the calculations.
But aiming and Sen and losing on the bot side. So, not ideal.
Meanwhile, top side of the map, though, is still Keen, trashing that matchup, and Afrika Freaks with control here. Around the river, that is only a hijack on a Glacial Prison. That is not going to get them this Infernal Drake. So Afrika still able to pick things up here on this map. Mujin now does have his Barmy Cinder, not quite with his Cinder Hulk just yet, but Dread is in a similar position. As our Life Binding line lands on Descendant, you can see so many of our players have been putting time into the Lux, but remember the type of player Key is. He was always the mage support player forever. This guy was so good on the ranged casters.
And that's why when the season opened and Yuumi and Lux were the meta supports, you were like, man, this guy's ready to go. Key was always counterpick Nami, counterpick mage support.
Oh, that was so clean from Keen. Gets out of the way of the riposte really nicely.
It's a hard matchup.
Someone like a book.
And this is nameplates on, it feels like a bit in the 1v1. So1 is a capable top laner, but
an incapable Fiora player so far.
And look, even outside of that, it's Keen. So, yeah, he is a great top laner and is able to make a hard matchup. But remember him winning the counter matchup against Sword. He was Aatrox into Riven and won that matchup. And that was considered a hard counter on the Riven side. Nice stuff from Keen. But, you know, top side going better than expected for Afreeca. The turret dive bot lane better than expected for Hanwha Life. And it's one of the rare times where it's actually taking Aftershock outside of a usual case. We don't usually see Aftershock against Tahm Kench because he doesn't apply any engage pressure. But guess what Aftershock does allow?
Wow.
Clean turret dives.
Yeah. Well, apparently Keen, he might barely even need to turret dive this one as he's looking for more knockups. So I'm not going to get pulled back there, but every single time, if that riposte is on cooldown, Keen kills So1 in that position.
A good start with a good top laner means a rougher laning phase than expected. Now So1's almost a scaling top laner in a matchup that's very Fiora favored.
But the flow-on effects are also huge because Shelly should theoretically be free with So1 making his way back to lane now. Mugen has to gank a minion wave to stop Keen from taking all of the turret plates on the top side. And now, Afreeca Freaks are in this first world problem situation where they're like, oh, we want to use Shelly on the top side, but we won't get enough value because already Keen has smashed down that turret.
And that's why I love that you bring on the clear on-map flow-on effects, because it's 3 turret plates for the Aatrox. The Fiora has to take a bad back, so Mugen goes top lane and instead of taking the Rift Herald, and even worse, Key roams top lane to try to help with a Rift Herald take and watches the enemy take it against the on-paper Fiora-favored matchup.
And it looks like Dread is still going to put Shelly towards the top side. He was considering it. Still a fair bit of time before Shelly has to be used to take down these turret plates. I'd like to see it on the bottom side of the map to really get some extra pressure, but now it looks like Dread is in here at the right time. The Umbral dash is good. Keen throws down the ultimate. Dread makes sure that he gets in range for that one, but that guarantees the kill. And that is going to mean turret falls down, double plates going over to Keen, and this Aatrox is huge.
11-minute turret for the Aatrox, and then he's going to start teleporting into fights, and best of luck with that. Dread waited out of range, came in the moment he saw riposte. Honestly, couldn't have been any better from Afreeca's jungle top duo.
Yep, Lava was looking for the knock-up from the pillar, but the pillar missed the slight knock-up interaction there, which is why you saw the hijack used on the last breath. That hasn't necessarily been the greatest when it comes to synergies, especially on this Hanwha comp that don't have any knock-ups outside of the displacement on that pillar.
It just feels like we're getting an early game Sivir comp. It's going to be very much Afreeca trying to get their work done, because for Sivir, realistically, can farm 3 items, because we already know that armor stacking will be real on the side of Hanwha Life. So Afreeca really is in their benefit to keep playing this aggressively, because Hanwha Life can't manage that duality of stacking armor and buying core damage items pre-25-30 minutes.
And I feel like now we need to talk about the thing about Yasuo that we don't get to talk about all that much, which is the armor shred of the last breath being actually huge if you're going to be stacking the armor this much. We'll have a look at this one though, because Keen certainly killed So1 real quick, and Dread came in to make sure that he couldn't escape.
So1 had to use riposte defensively in the 1v4. Already shouldn't happen in the matchup because Fiora was losing by so much, and then Dread could profit up. So great communication, great read on a lane state that's not a common one in the matchup. Just a really good call from Afreeca's top side. And that now means we have some hilarious mismatches in terms of item timings in the 1v1.
Yeah, and we've also got an Aegis of the Legion already completed by Dread here as well, on top of his Cinderhulk. He's also got Ninja Tabi. He is out-farming Mugen by a bajillion in that jungle right now, or at least it feels like it. As Mugen's lucky to get himself a control ward there. Yukao coming down, wanting to steal away a red buff from his own team. Light Binding lands here, as there's the last breath. They finally do get that knock-up. Windwall's good. The last breath on the side of the Yasuo, though, is decent, but Yukao has to get out of there. Devour, that is a huge slow. Triple knock-up, and the kill at the end! Not quite enough to do it, but it looked real spicy. Hanwha walk away with the advantage.
And there's the duality of the Afreeca Freaks and their young lineup. They take a fight they shouldn't, Atlas. They take a fight where the synergies can come together. Trundle Pillar is an easy opening for the last breath. And given the future scaling, anything that injects gold now for Hanwha Life is priceless when it comes to those late game team fights that may never have came if they kept just playing around Keen.
Yeah, and that's going to be 2 kills for Sungyun too, which is so huge. Finally able to get himself onto the board in that first column of the KDA, and this is what started it up. Once again, it's Key playing some pretty nice lucks.
Trundle Pillar Yasuo, Trundle Pillar Swain. You don't think about it on paper, but it is. Those knockups to open up great synergy. Sungyun in position to fight around. Keen is stranded in the mid lane, and he was a lot of the gold lead. Atlas is still a 1,500 gold lead to Afreeca Freecs. Actually, it extends to 1,700 gold lead when we come on screen. And yes, Afreeca still hold the gold lead, but as a full AD comp against a team that can actually stack armor because they have tanks, the gold lead getting smaller and smaller for the scaling comp. Hanwha Life is scaling in the truest sense of the word.
Yeah, I mean, they have tanks. I guess they have Muujin, but is anybody else really going to be able to stack the armor?
Lava can build some armor, potentially, but you're right. But Trundle is going to be really, really tanky.
Yeah, and also that's going to be his entire job this game as well, so that is enough of a problem in unto itself, despite the fact that he's going to be the only one that's going to fully benefit. Dread coming on in here. Just getting some vision down. Afreeca still playing as far up as they can. It is just the most disgusting CS advantage here for Keen. 40 as we check in.
Tower dive here as Muujin and Sungyun walk up.
Yeah, on the hunt is now picked up here from Lava, thinking about trying to go for a potential chase. So Dread did have Glacial Prison available to him, could have stopped the influx of Hanwha Life players, but decides that he doesn't want to invest that one. He's going to play it safe, make sure that he holds on to any engage tools that he has. I feel like Cuz has really set the bar when it comes to playing Sejuani around the mid to late game and being able to start fights on a whim with that ult.
Sejuani's such an interesting champ in that she has non-committal CC. I mean, Amumu mains was so mad when Sejuani was announced. It's like, wait, an arranged Amumu ult? And obviously the AoE and the other things around it have changed over time. But the reason why I bring it up is, yes, she's non-committal in her ult, but if her ult misses, she's basically not a champion.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to pick your moment. I feel like so many Sejuanis are paralyzed with fear that they'll miss their ult. So they just don't ult. So when you see Cuz walk in and make it happen and be clutch on Sejuani, you see the full maximum potential of the champ, but we always wait and see it unfold in front of our eyes. We're never quite sure how the Sejuani will look.
And also, Cuz misses ults all the time. He's really good at just throwing it out off cooldown and trying to find his opportunity. And I think you can't be scared to try and go for those moves. And so on, looking for it once again. Back to the wall is Keen, but Key's going to move up. Sungyun's here as well. It's a good flash, but that is Flash having to be invested alongside the ult to get out.
And 3 members being invested means goodbye to the mid lane outer turret. So.
Bottom lane outer turret might also go down as well, as Dread and Yukal are right here. So yeah, they're going to lose way more than they gain, as Keen's Flash is all they got.
Hanwha Life don't have a pain point, except don't we have some nice team fight options. It's kind of where they're at right now, and unfortunately, the game is happening around those in the lanes because they have a losing Fiora matchup. They're really kind of miscast. Fiora feels like a great actress that you just don't like the role that they've been cast in right now because they're supposed to be able to take the win over the Aatrox. So around these ganks where we see people chase onto Keen, yes, you get an ult, yes, you get a flash, but you lose a lot.
Yep, looks like Dread is going to be rushing towards Zeke's Convergence. I like this a lot if he's going to be proactive with his ultimate play. We were talking about how good Cuz was. He also built that item alongside the Knight's Vow, which means that Afreeca will be able to transition into a Sivir composition very well as they move into the later stages. Yukal can hold them all up in the air, and Aiming can treat them like a Beyblade arena. It's going to be very scary, despite being able to build armor.
Didn't ever mention it, but Sungyun went for the Manamune build that we see a little bit less of. After the turret dive was successful, I think he would could have gone either way, so don't have a problem with this. It's a very quick Q evolve, so at least he could always trim waves, even if his attack speed will be a lot later in terms of the evolution time. Miramana, we'll wait and see the timing. Always going to be much later than an Ezreal, just because you don't have on-command ability to charge your tier when there aren't minions around.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to Void Seeker as often as you can, but even that is going to get through your mana. Keen pulled back with Infernal Chains, but he can eat some Honey Fruit if he would like to, but everyone is scared of Keen at this point in time, and Keen remembers that. Just there. Lava here on the bottom side. We'll see whether him and Yukal are still able to juke it out. Looks like Lava's giving Yukal a lot of respect. as Afrika just seem to be able to shove these waves way more freely and effectively than Hanwha have been able to. Hanwha have never been able to wrestle back tempo despite being able to find team fights in their advantage.
Afrika, with all that map control, Atlas, that you get, with your ability to painlessly push waves, don't have to respect the enemy, can also have Aatrox just play alone.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a note button, but he knows to leave the turret now as they
can just say no but leave, yeah.
They run the map, and it feels like Hanwha Life are just trying to handshake a team fight where if Afrika keep doing what they're doing, outside of one mistake, walking out too far in their red side jungle, it doesn't matter what Hanwha Life's team fight looks like if they never get one.
Well, that is going to be the missed ultimate. I like it from Dread. Went for the attempt, as the supercharger was very quick on the fingers there from Sangyun, so nicely done.
Wonder what chat's spamming right now. Hopefully that means that Hanwha Life will be able to more aggressively push out a couple of minion waves while the ult will inevitably be on cooldown.
Yeah, not exactly the longest cooldown for the Glacial Prison at this stage of the game. Level 11 now for Dread, so it is going to go down just a little bit.
You know what's bad? Where Sejuani missing ult is actually really important to allow Hanwha Life to farm for a bit.
Yeah.
In multiple lanes, but that's just kind of been where we're at in this game. Back
3 turrets to 1 is going to be that scoreline here as the entire outer ring has been taken. There is almost a free one on the top side, though. That inner turret is a hair's breadth away from being dead.
Loving the Steric's choice from the Yasuo. You might say, but he's winning in farm. Why not go for a snowball, i.e. Afrika want to fight before any of those armor items are there, even for Mugen, let alone anyone else. So why not go for the one where you just spam R and you take whichever one you get as the Yasuo. You don't have to think about your timing when you've already got some defensive utility.
Yep, not to mention you want to be activating that as quickly as possible given the armor penetration that you'll have available to you. Keen is going to get bullied away from this blue buff as Soan doesn't actually pull the trigger on the grand challenge. Saw Keen not wanting to go for that 1v1, didn't know where the rest of Hanwha were on this map. Soan will be able to get rid of the Aatrox.
A lot of big gold leads. On the left side of your screen, only Sangyun has a good amount of gold, and even then, no bounties. In fact, I imagine that's just about time of farming here, because 250 gold bounty on Sivir, despite having no kills.
Yeah, that is a big one. That's actually a very weird stat as well, because he's behind in farm by 10 against his opponent.
So what happened is, you notice when we saw Hanwha Life being scared to hit minion waves, in that time, Sivir just farmed a lot in a short amount of time, and grew up a bounty out of nowhere.
And now it's up to about 300. Also had a few turret plates under his belt as well, which is the location of a lot of this gold lead to the tune of about 3,000, aiming with quick fingers there. On the spell shield, it's going to stop that Void Seeker, but this is the turret that I was talking about. Very easy money to pick up on this map to extend that lead even further.
And it's just so hard for Hanwha Life to change this game. Afrika continue to play close to a perfect game for the comp they were given, because there was a lot of different headaches to consider. All we can say is Afrika's comp easy to execute. Hanwha Life has a lot of answers, but right now hasn't been able to use them, kind of like game number 1.
Well, the problem is that we started this game and Afrika said win lane, win game, and they won lane by a lot in their solos. And bottom side of the map winning was just not enough to get Hanwha any further back into this game. You can see Aiming's even able to pick up some blue buffs here because there's a Yasuo and an Aatrox. Doesn't have to contend for anybody else wanting to get any mana back.
But win lane, win game doesn't usually encompass the top and bottom comps that we had here. It's what happened though, so it was just some great play in top lane, especially Sangyun with double buff. And Sangyun does a lot of damage at
he's
the moment.
Scary.
However, so many plays like this where you throw down a pillar, you completely back away. Here we go.
Yeah, it's Arctic Assault buffered really nicely, but it's not enough. Okay, Zenon able to get the Devour in. No one dead just yet. Mugen, the first to go down, and the ultimate there from Yukal is going to secure it. It's 2 kills already here for the Afrika Freaks. No knockup is going to come in as Soan. Decent flash there, trying to lunge around this fight, but the resets were there for the Aatrox. See you later, Hanwha Life, and welcome to Baron, Afrika Freaks.
Perfect time for a fight. Afrika finally say, let's go, and oh boy, it's with Keen in position. They
that was a
onto the
clean
Baron,
ace.
and it's another Baron super early for Afrika Freaks.
This is what we saw out of Kingzone last week. This is the kind of decisive play that we were watching out of them and we were praising them for so much. As the Afrika Freaks have done it. They've done their homework. It's been a lot of Sejuani comps for both of these teams, but man, this buffering of the Arctic Assault was beautiful.
It's such a desperate engage from Hanwha Life because they just want to fight. They desperately want to fight. But they so easily turned by Tahm Kench, and then Keen's in the back line, while Yasuo has the Zeke's convergence and the ability to just hit whoever he damn wants.
Yep. Oh man, the Zeke's convergence on top of the Yasuo. I didn't even notice. I thought it was definitely going to be on the Sivir, but that was great. The adaptation. Freak of Freaks very happy. As it's another ultimate, but that's a... Yeah, okay. Good stopwatch, not good enough.
Bot lane dive. Beautiful from Hanwha Life. Unfortunately from there, top lane losing as the cascading dominoes are so clear in this game. A top difference game might end really early.
And while that bottom lane dive was happening, remember that Yukao was getting just the most gigantic lead in the mid lane when it comes to creeps and turret plates that actually the gold didn't change after that happened. And if you have a look at it now, Freak of Freaks are ahead by 10k. It is a gigantic lead at 25 minutes.
Should be a game-ending one, Atlas. Very difficult to reconcile how Hanwha Life get the fight they wanted later. Later's never coming if Afrika keep breaking the bases.
Yeah, and speaking of breaking things, Papa, I mean, we were talking about this series. I was talking about Hanwha before the Sandbox series, thinking they had some opportunities. Speaking of which, Ultimate does fly in. Yukao going aggressive on the bottom side, just dashing through some minion waves. I thought he was fighting someone. He wasn't actually, as now Hanwha are looking for him. Nice dodge on a lot of the abilities. Finds the ultimate once again. Onto Lavu, goes into his Zhonya's. Grand Challenge is popped very early, but the Devour denies any sort of re-engage as Keen. Looking for more. Riposte does nothing, and Hanwha, they have nothing.
Even though it was 1v3 for a bit, it's just a prank from Hanwha Life. They know they can't hard engage, and with the Baron still up, they're trying to break the base again.
Yep. Inhibitor turret should be going down here. The inhibitor was dealt with, of course, by Yukao in the meantime. They feel like they've taken just enough here as Yukao doesn't have a lot of health bar left and really wants to buy that Infinity Edge so that he can have some fun with it before this game is over.
That fun means we're probably going to have quite a long break, Atlas. This has been two very fast games, even though the lull states were actually long in both of them. Game number 1 and game number 2, the kills weren't necessarily backing up the play, especially in game number 1. So IE is done. Sterix was there earlier. Look at how much wallet smacking there is, Atlas.
This is gigantic. 3,000 gold in the top lane, and I feel like Keen has barely even been in a lot of these fights. He's fashioned himself for 2-0-3, but I don't even know where it's come from. I feel like the Yasuo was absolutely huge in a lot of these, and he's ahead by 2.5k himself.
As our resident wallet smacking analyst, what brand is the Afrika wallet this game, and what brand is the Hanwha Life wallet? Because I feel like we got some brand names going on.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's definitely some no frills on the side of Hanwha Life because they have been playing relatively low interactive League of Legends and just falling over.
How about it's on the Afrika side, the Gucci wallet? You know,
yeah,
nice
I'm thinking
designer.
Yeah, okay, Gucci.
And it's like Rip Curl or something on the side of Hanwha Life.
Straight from Torquay into the back pocket of Hanwha Life.
Because what does a Rip Curl wallet let you do? You leave work early and you go to surf.
Yeah,
and
you
that's
go
all they
surfing,
can do.
and also, I mean, it's not going to get opened by itself. Thankfully, it's got that sweet, classy Velcro there. I completely understand, Papa Smooth. That's great. Does it allow you to, you know, swim around more comfortably in the death chamber as well?
You're going to have to ask Hanwha Life, Atlas.
Oh, man. Yeah, well, the Louis Vuitton's looking good on Afrika Freaks. I think they've all chosen a different designer brand. I don't think it's all Gucci on this side, although it is, to be perfectly honest.
No, it definitely is all Gucci. On the Afrika side, No Face not crying after this one. That's just tears of joy.
Yeah. In fact, he might be crying, but like you say, it is going to be those tears of joy. As the inhibitor is now what's going to be under siege. Afrika Freaks thinking about playing some League of Legends now, using their sweet new toys they picked up from the shot. Light Binding is going to land there, but Keen able to Umbral Dash to get out of the way. Still, Afrika just looks like they're playing with their food right now. Light Binding again lands. Ultimate is going to be followed up, though, as Key takes about half of his health bar in damage. Someone dealing with a super creep wave as Afrika are going to play this one by the book. Spending some time up towards this inhibitor turret. Okay, Yukao, Grand Challenge is down. Good positioning there from Sowan as Senin gets on over. Actually able to get there. The flash wasn't late enough. Oh, the two-man hold-up with the last breath, but he's just going to die. You always get excited by it as Sang-yoon has the evolution on the queue, finishes off the piggy, as Afrika finish off the base, but lose 2 of their members.
Uh-oh. Yukal's wallet only has 1 C on it. That's the wrong Gucci, Atlas.
No.
It's been off-brand in this one, unfortunately, and
yeah,
it's well caught.
It's not Gucci when you buy it at the station, Yukal. Come on, man.
But it was such a bargain. It was like $30 only.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work like that.
Come on. Do you think Yukal knows how much a Gucci wallet costs? I don't think he does.
Or maybe, I don't know. After his performance on KT, I would have paid a bit for him.
Well, this performance was a little bit to be desired. Walked up, and he'll say he was baiting for the top inhibitor to go down. I think they could have got it without his death.
Yeah, and Senin was unable to get over the wall there with him as well, because I believe that's just not how that works anymore. The nerf to Tahm Kench being pretty outspoken in that particular exchange, but the damage had been done largely, as like you say, they were baiting for the top inhibitor.
I mean, 3 inhibitors down, so it's still a good game.
I mean, this game is still about as over as it can be. 2 Infernal Drakes, a Cloud Drake so you can move faster towards the enemy.
You never want to say it because you're like, ooh, all AD damage, but can you remember all the games where one team on paper had the scaling, fell behind, and caught back up? I can't this year. It almost never, ever, ever happens. If you stay competitive, maybe. But if you're 10,000 gold down, you just never get there.
The only example I have this year is Griffin against Hanwha Life when they were down 8k. This is currently Hanwha Life down 8k. But this is a composition that, like you say, you run at the opponent with 2 Infernal Drakes and a Baron, and you're just going to win the fight, Papa. I mean, you're going to dance around in the mid lane waiting for a mini wave. Like, at least they're having fun. Beep. Poro Bristle doesn't deserve that, Yukal.
Well, that's the kind of game we have here. Hope you're having a sing and a dance at home.
We certainly are having one here at LoL Park. If you're an Afrika fan, not so much. If you're a Hanwha fan, Sungyun's dad's not going to be as proud of him here today. He, of course, was in the audience. That being said, Sungyun has been one of the players that's been actually doing stuff. Speaking of doing stuff, On the Hunt has been popped here as Yukal looking to try and get some damage down onto Sungyun. That Q still needs to be respected, and he does not have a GA completed. Dread able to get out of the way here as it's just inhibitors getting re-killed. Soon the super creeps will be too much to overwhelm Hanwha Life.
Their siege is desperately poor, but super minions can do it for them. Super minions push up. If you get the right connection, you dive. If you don't need to. So
yeah, Infernal Chain, speaking of connection, is going to land really nicely there. Sungyun has to go into his stopwatch very early. Lava's going to get pulled up into the sky. He's got his Zhonya's, though. Will be all right here as Keen diving into the backline, taking matters into his own hands, gets himself the reset on the ultimate, and now the Nexus turrets will finally be taken down, but not before the ace is completed. So on the Fountain is just going to have to wait as far back as he can and watch his Nexus get destroyed. Afrika with the clean 2-0.
And also the explosive speed in which they could end both games around the 30-minute mark or earlier means the Afrika Freaks are on a streak, Atlas. They are 2 wins in a row. They take down SK Telecom T1 in a fashion that would surprise some. They follow that up with an even more impressive victory, and now Hanwha Life